if you're going through it right now, this video is gonna grab you. And I think that this is so important for guys our age, okay? Like right now I'm 45, I'm gonna be 46. And if you're the same age, you're probably in this situation where you've achieved something, but you're not where you want to be, right? And you fall into one of two categories. And you've either in your mind you've achieved nothing and you want to get something in your second half of life. And I'll tell you something so important. This is the media doesn't tell you this. You never hear this stuff. But the other part is that you've achieved things in your life, but then you got to this point and you're like, hey, I gotta do something bigger. Maybe it fell off, maybe you lost your money, whatever it might be. What the media doesn't tell you is that most people achieve things in their 40s and 50s and 60s. Um, I just saw an incredible stat, and I wish I knew it exactly. And it's just off the top of my head. It was about a Warren Buffett, and I don't like Warren Buffett, so it's like one of those things that I heard, but I don't like him. But I heard it because obviously it's Warren Buffett, where it's like he made like 99% of his because he's worth like I don't know $100 billion, $200 billion, whatever he's worth, like a ridiculous amount. And it was like something he made like he achieved 99% of his wealth after the age of 60, which is incredible. And that's the whole compound interest, all that. And life's the same way. Life's the same way is that we gain our knowledge, we gain our maybe a little bit of money. We screw up in our 20s and 30s, and very often most of our 40s. We just screw up over and over again. And I can tell you, in my own experience, I've made money and I lost money. I make money and I spend money. I've got 4 kids. I got a family. I got, cars, a house. You're probably in the same situation where it's like you might have a great month, but then the money's gone. Or you're paying off things you're paying off debts from years ago. So here's the thing. So how do we have that second half, and I don't want to say second half of our lives because then you start thinking like, well, 50s, 60s, 70s, and you're not trying to achieve something when you're 80 years old. You want to do it now, right? So the way I look at it is the next year. I tend to think of things in year or less. When people say, "Oh, your 5-year plan and your 3-year plan and 10-year plan," I'm like, I don't know if I'm different or if I'm just thinking for myself, but I cannot think more than a year ahead. And when you think about it logically, if you've achieved something, you realize that things change so much that you can't plan for more than a year. You just can't because things are so crazy. And if you've got kids, you've got bills, and you've got a job, you've got a career, you've got a business. It's like a year from now, it's like it's so different than it was the year before. Is that you can't plan beyond that. And also for myself, I lose like motivation. If I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this, and I've got this 3-year plan or 5-year plan. I'm like, hell, I can take off this week because it doesn't matter. So it's like that's me. That's me. So you got to get to know yourself, right? So I think of everything of a year and less. Let's think about it this month, this week, today, this weekend. This quarter, the rest of this year. But I tend to think of things as a year. So let's think about it that way. Like how do you transform things so you could be different? Okay, let's look at a couple things. Number one is I heard this a long time ago, and it never really it never I thought it didn't make sense, but then when I started doing it, and I didn't do it because I heard it. I started doing this. I guess whatever you want to call it, organically. I just started doing it. I started realizing that I was doing it. And the first thing is that you set different expectations for yourself. And I know that, and I'll tell you a couple things, and we're not going to deal with like cliches and all that bullshit. Okay, we're going to talk about real world stuff. but the expectation of yourself is so important. Like, for example, if you think, well, I'm gonna get this done, or I'm gonna get this done, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. It's like the truth is, it's your mind's gonna listen to what you tell it, right? I think it was Henry Ford that says, if you believe you could do a thing, you believe you can't, you're right, and it's that stuff's so powerful. It's so powerful, and until you really grasp it and understand it, it's so powerful. So the first thing we got to do is change our expectations. So if you're making 50 grand a year, you want to go to 100 grand, just change. I remember something that changed for me is that it was literally one day, and I remember, I won't go into the story because I've told the story before, but it was like one day where I was dealing with some crap, and um, you know, I just decided, I said, you know what, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing going forward, and I changed, and I changed. It was like an instant, and I think it's the same way, um, where and actually, let's jump to the next thing, is that we got to stop comparing what we should have done 10 or 20 years ago. But here's the thing. I'll tell you two things. One, really, really, really important. But number one is, like, in your 20s, in your 30s, even in your 40s, you're figuring stuff out. Okay. You're not Jeff Bezos. You're not Mark Zuckerberg. You're not the Google guys. Okay. Those guys are, you could say they're lucky. I think they're lucky, but I also think some of those guys are brilliant, IQ wise, thought wise. It's funny because, we look at someone like LeBron James, right? And you see he's, 6'8", 250, super athletic, and then you take someone who might be like 5'10", 150 pounds, and you're like, this guy cannot compete with LeBron. LeBron's bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic, because you see it. You can see that, right? But something you can't see is you can't see someone's brain. So you say, oh, well, Jeff Bezos was lucky, or if he did it, I can do it too. Mm, I don't think you could. I don't think you could. I can't either, So I'm just saying that you gotta understand where you're at, right? But you can also work with them. But here's one of the things I think we make the mistake of. We make the mistake of saying, like, getting caught up on what we should have been doing 20 years ago. Let's focus on what we should do now, because it's easy to look back and say, well, when I was 20, I should have got with this job, and I should have been in this industry, and I should have invested in these stocks. Okay, fine. If you want to play the game, we will play the game. Let's do that. Do it now. It's easy because you know how it worked out. Google got big. Facebook got big. You know, MySpace died out, so you couldn't invest in that company, but you could invest in Facebook. You would have made a ton of money. You could invest in Google. You would have made a ton of money. But if you would have invested in Ask Jeeves, you would have lost all your money, right? If you would have invested in Subway early on, you would have made a lot of money. Personally, I invested money in Tubby stock. I lost a shitload of money when I was like 16 years old. But anyways, so if you're going to play that game, if you're going to beat yourself up with it, well, so what are you doing now? What industry is taking off now? Well, it's AI. Okay, fine. It's AI. There's 1,000 AI companies. There's 1,000 companies dealing with AI. Which one's the big one? Well, it's NVIDIA. Okay. Well, they're already huge. Are you going to invest in that? Do you think they're at the peak? Or do you think that they're just getting started? Well, no, they're peaked out. Are they? I don't know. Like, look at Amazon. There were so many times where Amazon, people thought, oh, it's at its peak. Well, I mean, think about back in the day. People thought Amazon, oh, they're not making money. They're not going to go anywhere. They won't make any money. And they kept getting bigger and bigger. And people thought, well, they're at their peak. So many times people said they're at their peak. And they just kept going and going and going. Same thing with Google. Same thing with Facebook. I mean, Facebook is huge. Back in the day, we're not going to get into this, but even when they went public, and I think the stock jumped up to like $40, and people thought, oh, this is way overvalued. And a lot of people felt it was. And in hindsight, it's like, that's a deal. That's a steal. So forget about when you're 20. Forget about like trying to like say, I should have done this, I should have done that. What are you doing now? What are you doing now? And I think it starts by making better use of our time. Like let's stop wasting so much time. Let's stop screwing around so much. Let's get on with it. And let's do it every day. Here's something that let's wrap it on this. I tell my kids this all the time. One of the things I heard, I went to a marketing seminar, a high level marketing seminar when I was 22 maybe, and it at the time it cost $5,000 and I didn't have the money. And the story of me going there is actually kind of funny. I think I've told the story before. It's kind of funny. In hindsight, it's kind of funny. It wasn't funny at the time, but anyways, I went there and it cost $5,000 at the time. I went and the guy talking, he said the days were like 12-hour days. It was like 4 days. And it was after the 12 hours, there was maybe, I mean, in the conference, there was a few hundred people. And at this point, late at night, there was maybe 40 people and I was in there. And he was just kind of talking casually. He said, people always ask me what the key to success is. And this is a guy that dealt with, many, Fortune 500 companies, $1 million companies. He dealt with all these guys, and he said, and he's very successful too. And he said, people always ask him what the key to success is, and he said, there's no secrets. He said the secret is to do it every day. And that really struck me when I was 22 or 23, whatever I was. I'm like, okay, do it every day. I didn't really grasp it until I was about 28. Of doing it every day, and I think that's the key. So going forward now, just let's start by changing our expectation, like what we expect we're gonna do. Let's start busting our tail and doing it every single day. And if you're not subscribed yet, definitely subscribe. I'm gonna keep bringing these fire videos, and let's blow this thing up. All right.